Hello friends, welcome to Exampur. I hope my voice is audible clearly, screen visible hai. Everything is set, just let me know whether it is clear or not. So I am going to discuss today regarding the ethanol blending. Before going forward, I am just going to let you know about the yesterday's topic. Just going to have a glance regarding the Nehruvian pledge. What was it all about? We have already taken this topic into consideration yesterday, and what it is all about. Nehruvian pledge, it was all about the inequality of the opportunity. They have taken the concept into the consideration. I have told you regarding certain conceptual basis. Pledge, we are talking about what this pledge is all about. This is totally inequality, about the inequality of opportunity. We have to discuss these parameters. The inequality of opportunity which Nehru wanted to eradicate has only systematically widened. What we are taking the things into consideration over here is we are making ourselves concerned regarding the inequality perception. Inequality between the economical strata. The inequality perspectives are continuously widening the gap between these two curves. What this is all about, this is for the service sector, professionals, and this is all about the poorer section who do not have the access, who do not have the access of resources, This gap between the rich and poor is continuously widening the gap. This gap is continuously strengthening out of the situation that we are moving forward. Second drawback of this condition is all about continuously upgradation in the growth scenario. We are even facing in this parameter as well. Getting my point? Growth perspective, we do make consideration of this word in order to make the consideration of the prosperity. How do you determine the condition of any country? You have to just make the surety of the growth pace. How the growth is going forward with respect to that economy. Getting my point? In order to know the status of any individual, you have to know about the income of that particular individual, whosoever you are making the access. You are making the, you just want to figure out their status. In order to know the status of that particular individual, you do need to know about the income level of that individual. In the same way, if you have to know about the economy, good afternoon, awesome Queen and Amit Maurya, hello. What we are talking about here is just to acknowledge and just to know about the status of any country, we have to take the help of growth perspective, how that economy is running. If this is taken as the indicator of prosperity. In order to know the status of any economy, you have to know about the growth rate of that economy. Getting my point? But in case of Indian economy, what we are looking at, if there is prosperity in economy, it has to get along the employment opportunity. Suppose my income is widening, I should have the standard of living at a faster pace. Getting my point? I should be uplifted if I am getting increment in the income. Obviously, life pattern has to be decided on the basis of income. There would be difference in the lifestyle who is earning 1,000 and who is earning 1 lakh rupees. There would be difference in the lifestyle pattern. You are estimating the prosperity signal on the basis of income lag. That is what we are trying to say. But what is the concern and drawback over here? Why we are just now discussing on the growth perspective? Nowadays, we have considered this term as the headline. We have considered this term as the headline growth. What do you mean by headline growth? Means we are just making the uptrend in income level. We are just getting the changes in the income level, but not accompanying the employment opportunity. There is no excess of this increment in income among the common people. Means whatever income you are raising in the economical scenario, this is not reachable towards the common people or the poorer section, which should have the excess of. If you are making the upgradation, there should be excess of the contribution you are making, right? That is what two terminology you need to make the consideration of, that whatever growth perspective we are making the increment in, but we are not getting along the employment opportunity. Means employment opportunity is lagging behind and growth is continuously increasing. Then why this is upgradation in the growth? What it is for? Okay? Getting my point? Next point, this is all about, if we are looking at the perspective of inequality of opportunity, you need to elaborate these concerns out of three indicators. This is all about the inequality, social inequality. You have to make the inclination. A social inequality widen the gap out of the power in your hand, out of the financial or the funding resources you possess. And this is all about the gender gap, women, how much empowered a woman is. Global gender index, if we do talk about, it has to make the distribution in 4 segments. We are going to talk about this even on this topic. The practice of democracy. Practice of democracy, you do not have to write the definition in political term over here is, you need to transform your definitions of word meaning as per the subjects given in the topic. So here we are looking at the economical concept. So what do you mean by the democracy? You are establishing the conceptual basis, or you are establishing the resource allocation just to make the assurity, just to make the accessibility of these resources towards the segment which are unreachable. Getting my point? So things or resources should be accessible enough. So whenever you heard in economics about the democracy, means accessibility should be widened. Accessibility should be increased or incremented. These two topics are complementary to each other, and we have to assess these with the help of political empowerment. Political empowerment, if we do talk about political empowerment in case of global gender gap, global gender gaps is deal with the political empowerment that gives power in the hand of women. How much power they possess. Or how do we determine this index? On the basis of you possess the seats in parliament and in the ministry. If you are having more and more posts in the parliament as well as in ministries, then it would be political empowered country. It is just determining the power being given to the women's in the economy. Power is going to make the allocation of the resources. Next point is all about, this is all about economical participation. Economical participation. Third is all about health. Health is going to determine the productivity and the capacity through which they are going to make contribution in the economy. Fourth is about education. Education is going to spread the knowledge, awareness perspective. Getting my point? Economical participation means how much power and resources holding we are talking about. Resources holding we are talking about. So these 4 perspectives do have different ideologies or different meanings if we take the things into consideration with respect to economy. So power, resources holding, capacity and awareness is going to determine the inequality principle. If you are well equipped in these 4 parameters, inequality could be erased or eradicated if you are working on these 4 parameters. Getting my point? So these are the parameters on which cycles we have to work on, and whether this is the MMR that should be below 70 as per the agenda being taken in the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, which has given the agenda that MMR, maternity mortality rate, has to be below 70 per lakh. But what is the condition in case of India that is going above 140? That is more than twice we are talking about in case of India. And this is the first sub target of the health target in SDG. What we are talking about here is SDG, and target 3 is health. First is poverty, second is hunger, third is health. And out of this health target, 9 sub targets are there in health. From this, first one is all about MMR, which has made the agenda or set the target that MMR should be below 70. And what is the condition in case of India? That is going beyond 140. Okay. So this is all about the MMR ratio, means it is making the base. If you are not going to stabilize the health condition in the economy, if you are not going to stabilize the capacity formation in country, nobody is going to make the contribution in the resource formulation, resource addition. Resource addition or the economical contribution would only take place when your personnel is going to be healthy. In order to make them healthy, you need to create that health sector well equipped. Next condition is all about loss of freedom of million to lifelong. What we are going to discuss over here is, we have already made the consideration. If you have been asked about the socio-economical developmental aspect, socio-economical, when you do talk about ever regarding the developmental perspectives, you need to deal with this aspect, socio-economical. Then out of this definition, socio-economic mean this is for the inclusivity, and economy is all about resources. Economy is all about the resources or the income. Getting my point? If you are making the proper allocation of the resources, means things are under the control or you are making progress. Okay, it is reachable to all the segment. Next point is, I have already made the explanation of inequality case. You need to take 4 perspective: power. Second is all about resources you are holding in your hand. Third is about capacity you do possess. Capacity is going to form out of your health condition. 3, you need to have the acknowledgement that you possess that of capacity out of the educational parameter. These 4 are the parameters you are going to make calculation. You are going to make the calculation. Next point is, you have attained 135th rank in case of global gender gap. This has been set on the basis of these 4 indicator. Political empowerment, you have secured 48th rank. Economical participation, you have secured 143rd rank. Who is behind us? Only 3 countries are behind us. And who are those 3 countries? Pakistan, Afghanistan and Iran. These 3 countries are behind India. Only these 3 countries are behind India in case of economical participation. Next is all about educational attainment, that is on 107th position, and health and survival 146th rank. We are on number last. We are attaining the last rank. We are the worst performer in case of health sector. If we do talk about the global gender ratio, we have attained the last position. Getting my point? So we need to get improved, and what needs to be focused, that is 121 countries and 122. We have attained the index in 146 out of 146 country in case of 2022, and here by we have calculated the index out of the 156 countries. I hope this is very much clear. This index is very, very important. I have just given a different vocab for this consideration, that if you have to determine the developmental scenario, you need to know about 4 words. If you have power, holding more resources, you would be in state to provide more and more capacity to your personnel. And if you have more capacity, you need to make the people aware of, by the medium of education, that they are in condition to make contribution in the economy. Getting my point? So these are the 4 basis parameters which are determine the global gender gap. This is not only determining the global gender gap, but these are the basic key parameters on the basis of which you can make the establishment of equality principle. That is the major concern in the economy. So, equality is the basic consideration just to have the socio-economical outcome in a very optimal manner, first of all. And trickle-down effect, we can consider it as a insulting point, since long we were on the in the edge of Nehruvian pledge we are talking about, that is since before since the 50-60 years, or we have already completed 75 years of independence. Now in this state even we are talking about eradication of the inequality principle. This is a point of insult. Number 2, trickle down means we have not yet proceeded ourselves or allocated our resources towards the segment which should be allocated to. Getting my point? What I am trying to say, trickle down means things are reachable towards the lower strata. Things are trickle down effects. Whatever policies you are framing, whatever policies have been formed by government, that has to be accessible by the lower strata, which is unreachable in excess of resources. Getting my point? We have failed to do so. Such kind of principle has been set in this kind of consideration. Good afternoon, Aman. So, what we are doing, talking about the segment, the point here is we are taking along 3 pointers in the same article. SDG goal first number, we are talking about the poverty. We need to eradicate the poverty principle by Mission Antyodaya project to eradicate the mass poverty. Again, we are not able to do so. We have not yet fulfill that criteria, means trickle down effect has failed to do so. First, second is all about if we are able to make the solution of hunger, it would automatically attain the healthy condition, or it would automatically build the capacity to the extent. At least you have completed the livelihood principle or the survival principle, then you would be in that state to think about the employment cases. If you are fulfilled, if you are satisfied enough with the provisions of food securities, then you would be in at least that condition to have faith in yourself, plus the healthy personnel you have capacity to make contribution in the economy. So these 3 aims are complementary to each other. Poverty needs to be eradicated, and whereby we have failed to reach to the last extent. We have become reachable to the segment, but not to the optimal level. That is what we are trying to talk about here. Hunger, if we would be able to make the consideration of hunger principle, means hunger is going to lead transformation in health sector, because it is going to build the capacity in the health sector as well. Okay? Yes, these are, I am just taking a glance. Okay? Today, I am just going to let you know about the ethanol. Today, I am going to let you know about the ethanol. These are the prior glance for the yesterday's topic, that was all about that socio-economical domain. You need to know the at least 4 to 5 points regarding the same topic. Understanding the ethanol blending. This was the article you might have studied in the Hindu. We are going to talk about the certain principle, what this is all about. What this is all about. What is ethanol blending? Okay. So we are trying to make the upgradation in the ethanol blending. Ethanol blending, we have set the target. Ethanol blending. I am just going to talk about the economical perspective of this topic. Okay, environment assessment or the environment criteria has to be covered by Madan sir. Okay, I am just going to let you know about the economical processing of this topic, how it could play a very beneficial role for the economical perspective. First of all, you need to know about the ethanol blending and what target you might have set. We have set the 20% blending at least. We have set the 20% blending at least by the year 2030. Now it has been changed to 2025. Getting my point? So we are working hard to attain this process. Okay, blending is naturally a process. It's a biofuel and it is the natural produced by the fermentation of the sugar. Okay, just we are talking about the petrol to burn less fossil fuels. If we are mixing the natural resources, we are just making the fermentation of the sugar, whatever the raws which has been left out of the sugar cane, we are using that in order to produce the fuel out of that product. Getting my point? Means we are making the energy out of the waste resources and we are blending it, and out of that blending mixing with the petrol, and that helps us in order to reduce the uses of fossil fuels, and we are trying to make the expansion in this process so that we could get less reliant or less dependent on the other sources like crude oil. So ethanol blending is the agricultural byproduct. You can take it as the waste and most important waste you are considering here in the first generation, that is sugarcane waste, and processing of the sugar from the sugarcane. Now in the second generation, first generation we used to take the blending out of the sugarcane waste and the byproduct of the sugarcane. Now we are trying to make the other sources as well, like rice husk and the maize. This has to come into the picture under the 2G, second generation, and this is under the first generation. We have to make the consideration in. Good afternoon, Shankar. Getting my point? What we are talking about here is second point. Why we are continuously making a discussion on this point. This is the topic with respect to environment. But what kind of economical role has been played out of the economical transformation? You need to know about that. Second is all about auto industries who has to obey this perspective that 20% ethanol should be the target by the year 2025. Many of the challenges automobiles industries has to face during the process. Getting my point? So compliant by 2023, many of the 20% ethanol in the petrol material compliant by 2023. Like government, if government has set a kind of norms and code of conducts for the industry, then industry is replying and giving the response that we are going to obey your rule and we are going to be compliant with the policy by 2023, and we would be in that condition to attain the target till 2025. Getting my point? Getting my point? Who is going to obey this rule? This is totally relied on the automobiles industry. Automobiles industry is giving reply to whom? The central government for the policy that we are going to follow your norms and code of conducts by the 2023 year. Getting my point? So you are going to be followed, and all the for foreign exchange, yes, will increase. How would it get upliftment? I am going to explain this forward. And environmental benefits. How you can just make the environmental benefits out of the blending? First of all, you would be having what? You would be having more alternatives beyond the crude oil. If you have more alternatives, means you would have bargaining power in your hand. Number two, CO2 could get reduced since you are not using more fossil fuel as you were using earlier. Inefficient land and water. Inefficient land and water you are just talking about. Inefficient land and water you are talking about. And the ethanol extraction, this is giving the opportunity for the farmers to produce more and more income for the farmers. They will attain more alternatives to make the earning out of which. And food security concern still remain. So what we are talking about here is, you need to know about a just first generation. We have shifted to second one. Second is all about automobile industries. Automobiles industries, they are talking about the compliant by 2023. Third is all about, as we have reduced, as it will reduce, as there would be reduce in fossil fuel, that is going to lead CO2 emission, reduce CO2 emission. Getting? This is the environmental perspective. If we do talk about from the point of view of farmers and from the point of view of BOP, from the point of view, you would be having more alternatives. You might shift towards this segment. If you have more alternatives, you might shift to the ethanol blending. You are using your own resources in order to generate the fuel. You are losing, or you are reducing the dependence. You are reducing the dependence on crude. Getting my point? Farmers, they would be able to establish the double income scenario. So 5 pointers you need to make the assessment of. Yes, stubble burning will reduce. Amazing. These 5 parameters you need to. First generation, when you are extracting the byproduct from the sugar cane only. If you do talk about coconut husk and the rice husk, these kind of other sources you are using beyond the sugar cane, then you might have entered to the second generation. Getting my point? Second point is all about why we are studying this article. That is because who has to obey the norm, who has to comply with the government policy which has been formed, and target has to be completed by the year 2025. Then automobile industries has given the reply or responded that we are going to comply on norms in our vehicle by the year 2023. Before that, we need to make certain settlements and follow up certain challenges which we need to make the acknowledgement of. It is not that easier to set upon this target on behalf of automobiles industry. They would require more and more time in order to get settled themselves with the code of conducts. They need to make the transformation in the land, water, engine, and the whatever rubber industries. Everywhere they need to make the transformation. Then only they can move forward towards the 20% blending, which has to be acquired by the year 2025. Getting my point? Yes, industry, beverages industry, not good for environment, but food security. And the food security. Look, these fossil fuel, as we are decreasing in the fossil fuel, it has to make reduction in the CO2 emission, right? And fourth is all about farmers, which is again making the contribution in the not in income, but in the alternative. I would get more advantage of having other alternative from where I can inculcate the income. So this could be considered as the medium for farmers to make accommodation on the income methodology. Yes, this is why we are trying to make, you might have heard about the palm. Like Indonesia, we used to demand a lot palm oil out of that country. They have stopped making, or I would not say stop making, they have reduced their supply in India just because they are making the biofuel out of their production wherever they are finding themselves as the best. Obviously, they are great producer in palm. Getting my point? Out of that palm, they are trying to make the alternative beyond crude oil, so that they can make accumulation of the resources out of their own economy, so that they can also make the less dependence on other countries. Getting my point? In the same way, we are moving forward towards the sugarcane, where we are on number 2 in the entire world. It is already declared that situation has gone worse in case of Brazil. If we do talk about the sugarcane production has impacted a lot. Even in that condition, if we are trying to make the production increment, or if we are trying to expand the production base, or we are trying our hard to increase the productivity, it would require more water, it would require more efforts, it would require more productivity criterias. I would mean over here, that is by the technology. You need to make supply of many of the technology just to build your productivity. Fifth point, you are making yourself less reliant. Since you are making less reliant on the crude, it would decline the payment scenario on behalf of Indian economy. Next point is all about India has achieved the target of blending at least 10%. 10% we have already attained, and on the move of after the 75th year, we are trying to be Atmanirbhar Bharat. Getting my point? We are trying to decline the burden of our country on other nations. As you might have heard about the scenario that India is accompanying. We are at the depreciating value of rupee. We are at the condition of BOP crisis. We are in condition of fiscal deficit, and we are under the huge debt crisis. These all crises are simultaneously occurring in our economy just because of exogenous effect, and wherever it is not at all be tackled, we cannot get it settled just by the medium of fiscal and monetary policy, because our dependence is totally making reliance on the other countries, and other countries has to make the settle down. Getting my point? This is all set. So we need to be Atmanirbhar Bharat so that we can reduce our dependence on other country, and other country could not make impact in our country. And India is one of the world's biggest oil importing nation, and we have to make the less, or you might get shocked out of the term that we are continuously making the expansion. Even after the pandemic, we are continuously making the expansion in the import of oil. Getting my point? In our demand continuously making the expansion. Obviously, it has to make the currency value down. Next, what is the ethanol blending? This has to be accommodated by the environmental faculty. That next point is all about will help bringing down the oil import. We have already talked about, and ethanol output would help increase the farmer's income. It would be beneficial for the farmer's income, and if you have to pay certain amount to the for the import of the crude oil, it has to lessen the burden in that criteria. Yes, it would take. It is good, no? If you are giving your land for the primary activity, it is nowhere making impact on the land. Getting my point? It is going to be beneficial even. You are not putting your land towards the mechanization or the industrialization. You are making the land prosperous even in the process of what? Production of the agrarian products you can talk about. Next is all about, I have already explained regarding the first generation and the second generation of ethanol. If you are making the production out of sugarcane, then it has to be things are extracting from the sugarcane industry. Then it has to make the consideration under the first edge, and second is all about the corns and the stovers, beggars and rice husk. These has to be accommodated in the second generation, which is making the production well equipped. Okay, this is all about the first generation. This is the second knowledge, second generation. This is under the current update. Therefore, you are making the importance out of this topic. Second is all about automobiles industry. Automobiles industry is making the emphasis on the compliance norm, where they are facing the challenges over the situation. And to make the help of biofuels, you are taking your own resources into the consideration. These have already established their norm. US, China, Canada and Brazil. Ethanol blending has already accompanied. You might have heard about US has given the acknowledgement for neutrality principle by the year 2050, and you might have heard about the China that has to be accommodated the neutrality principle by the year 2060, and in case of India we have given the target for 2070. So it has to come across the word bio, means we are making the reliance of our economy for the sake of energy on the renewable sources. Okay, ethanol content in petrol should be in 18 to 27.5% range. 20% is the criteria by the year 2025, which has been reduced. This is the process: sugar fragmentation, then the purification, how you can make the utilization of this blending in transportation and the petrol station. This blending is going to give a leverage over the fuel, where you are using less fossil fuel, which is making less contribution in the carbon emission, which is your set target of declining the carbon intensity in the energy sources. Electrical vehicle, I might have explained about the copper industries as well, that wherever it is also emitting a lot contribution in the economy, we are supplying lots of material, because we have made the sterlite ban in our country, and you are importing a lot copper sterlite, which we are using in case of electrical vehicle, right? You have extended that cost, and even in case of yes report that has been given that less land is required for the electrical vehicle than ethanol. But ethanol, you are making the utilization of land for the primary activities, which is giving or which is making the addition in your land fertility. But this is not so in case of EV. This is not so in case of industrialization or mechanized transformation. Getting my point? If you are using your land for the primary activities and for the extraction of the resources, which is usable and which is making the addition in the fertility, that is good, right? But this is not so in case of industrialization. In case of A point, here you are making the industry, and this is the B point, you are making the upliftment in the agriculture sector. This is going to be the beneficial for the land perspective. You are going good towards the natural resources. If you are using large enough sector for the natural farming or the agricultural perspective, then it would be good to know you are making the contribution in the economy. Getting my point? If you are making the contribution of yourself, if you are making the contribution in natural resources to uplift them, no matter what level of resources you are using. Getting my point? More crop sown area will take lot of water. Yes, this is the drawback in our country. This is the major drawback in our country. Impact the automobiles industry. First of all, it is going to make the impediments, means the hurdle to hold and store fuel. Getting my point? You need to prepare a kind of storage facility in order to preserve this alternative. First of all, the way you are taking, I am going to let you make aware about the topic what you have formed, that it is going to take lot of water. Yes, it do take lot of water. In the rice farming even, we are making the utilization of 5 to 7 liter water in single kilogram. It would be shocked to know that. And we are making export of these kind of crop, where we are absorbing lots of water. We are going to talk about this topic. After that, before going forward, I just want to let you know in whatever medium we are trying to make the expansion, in whatever way we are trying to make the extraction of the resources, be it from sugarcane, be it from rice husk, be it from other sources, whatever it be about, you need to make the surety of the compliant issue. If this is so, you need to be very much formal or very much concerned about the storage point of view. In order to hold the fuel, in order to save the fuel or store the fuel, you need to establish different level of infrastructure in that domain. Getting my point? Committed to becoming E20. What do we mean by E20? Engine compliant. First of all, you have raised the issue for the storage. In order to hold and save the fuel, you need to have the storage facility. By establishing more and more infrastructure in that case, that is going to raise the cost. Second is all about engine compliance. You need to make or construct the engine in that way which could be compliant to E20 point. E20 point means ethanol blending in 20%. What is the challenges? This is all about challenges only. You have concern regarding the storage. You have concern about the durability study on the engine. Obviously, if you have to construct, if you have to prepare new engine which could be compatible enough to accommodate the ethanol blending by 20%, you need to prepare engines accordingly. Obviously, it would require time, it would require a good level of time duration and field trial in order to accommodate a different kind of perspective. If you are going towards new domain, you need to make proper research and development. You need to give research trial, check and trials and check and balances that you are going at good level or not. Next is all about the storage would have to be separated, which then raises the cost. I have just explained it in the last slide. This is all about the holding of fuel that is making the concern regarding the storage facility. So if you are making a different level of infrastructure in the storage facility, that is definitely going to raise the cost. Second is all about you need to make the engine which is somewhere get compliance regarding the norm which has been formed under the policy, and that is for ethanol blending 20%. Getting my point? It has to be compliant enough. It has to be compliant enough to serve this norm. Third is all about whatever things we are undertaking into the scenario, we would require research and development programming. In order to conduct the research and development criteria, we would require more time. So we are making concern over here is regarding the time or duration, you can take it as. So automobiles industries are making their points clear. We have to make the compliance as per these norms. Obviously, we are going to make it, but by the year 2023, then only we would be in that condition to be on track by the year 2025. Getting my point? If I am obeying your norm from 2023, you cannot control us before that because we would require time lag. We have to make addition in the infrastructure criteria, which is making addition in the storage. Obviously, it would require different infrastructure because different fuel would require different compatible enough engines. Third is all about these all concerns are making increase in the cost scenario. What are the objections against the transition? Will reduce the green gas equivalent about 3 lakh ton of CO2 emission per annum. This is huge. 2G over here, this is referring to the maize and the rice husk and different sources which we are using beyond the sugarcane. You have to use the 2G word over here. Next point is ethanol projects inaugurated reduce the greenhouse gases equivalent whatever greenhouse gases. If you are reducing it, it would be beneficial. These are the environmental approaches. I am not going to take it. It has to be taken by the environment faculty. ठीक है? Next, key pollutant nitrogen oxides. You need to take the things into consideration. We can use the land. This is the point where Aman was talking about. Auto industry will need to set the engine in the way. Yes, it has to set the engine in the compliance of these norms. Obviously, they need to make the structural transformation in the manufacturing industries as well. They would require different component in order to be compliant with the norms which has been set by the government. Okay, we can use the land for more efficient by generating the renewable energy for the EV batteries. EV battery is incomplete without the copper. Already I have made the explanation about the Sterlite plant. I might have told you about that Sterlite plant which was under the restriction. Due to that reason, we are importing the copper from abroad, which is raising the cost, and we are required to make more payments to the other countries. Due to that reason, even this is also making the contribution in the deficit. Next, losses account for the losses from electricity transmission, battery charges, grid transformation. This is all about generating the energy from different sources, and these sources belongs to what? Renewable energy. Next, this is all about, this is the point where Aman was talking about 100 kg of sugar, 70 liters of ethanol. Meaning, what do we mean by it? If we are taking the 100 kg of sugar and 70 liters of ethanol, it do we mean by that a liter of ethanol from the sugar require 2860 liter of water. Means if we are making the extraction of sugars, if we are making the upgradation in the production work, it is not only taking the land into the utilization but also exploiting the water, which is, yes, we can take it as the negative impact on the economy. Can we consider that? Yes, we do consider that. The way we are on number 2 position in case of wheat and number 2 position in case of rice and number 2 position in case of sugarcane, we need to make consideration about certain points that sugarcane and rice we are making export of. But in case of wheat, where we are making less use of water, we are not making export. Getting my point? How the developed countries are playing smart role in it. If obviously developed countries do want to use their water in case of mechanization, in case of technological equipments, in case of industrialization, which is developed scenario, which is making more contribution in the GDP, and where we are making our utilization of water in the primary activities, that is rice, if we have to make the export, and in case of sugarcane, where we have to make the production upgradation, we are using our natural resources for the activities which are primary in nature, which is not making huge contribution in GDP. You can also make the negative point or critical analysis of this point. I hope you might have gotten the glance regarding this point. Approximately 3000 liter of water you are making in the blending process. And in the same way, 5 to 7k liter water you are making the utilization in case of 1 kg of rice cultivation. Can you imagine how much water you are required to make? And that is for the commodity you are making export. Means water uses which is not playing a productive role in our country. This is only the reason behind it. Next point is all about the International Council on the Clean Transformation. This is why we are only making the contribution. We have already attained the 10% ethanol. We are on the way to make the upgrade, like increment in this scenario by 2025. We have to attain the feature of 20% blending by the year 2025. No, that is what we are talking about, and this is all set by the article. Next, food securities. I am going to cover this tomorrow. Food security about. And 9 to 10 I do have lecture on the economical static part, and 12 to 1 is all about DNA daily news analysis, which has to be with reference to economical aspect. Getting my point? This was the environmental approaches. This was the topic based on the environmental approaches. But as we have made the inclusion of automobiles industry, and this article was totally reliant on the BOP crisis, on the energy sources, and you can take it as the industrial transformation code of conducts. So I have to let you know about the economical approaches, how this can make the consideration of primary activities in order to generate the energy, which is making us less reliant on the on the crude oil, which is reducing the burden on BOP crisis. Okay, thank you so much. Have a great day to all of you. What type of it can be prepared on both the both the basis. How can you make the surety? So first of all, it can be asked economical blending. You can just have to tell the environmental aspect, what kind of environmental preview it has to be accommodated in, plus the economical aspect you have to make the surety. Getting my point? You need to prepare the pointers with respect to environment and the economical point of view, pros and cons. It can be asked in any form, but answer should be in compliant way. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a great day to all of you.